Hey guys, before I start this video, I'd just like to acknowledge that this is a very difficult time in the world right now, and I hope that everybody is staying safe, staying indoors if they can. If you're doing groceries or going to the pharmacy or doctors or anything like that, just make sure you're being alert and making sure that you're just being safe. And if you're working because you have to, because capitalism sucks, then I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, staying sane, doing everything you can to trying to prevent any possibilities of you getting the virus. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well and finding ways to keep distracted, because it can feel very overwhelming when the news literally only talks about this virus. So yeah, I just hope everyone's doing well. If you guys can hear whirring in the background, I'm uploading a video and my laptop just doesn't know how to function. Today I'm going to be talking about priests, as if I want to get cancelled or something. Specifically like priests in marriage and like why priests in the Catholic Church can't get married. This is all just research I've found on the internet, so I'm not here to like bash religion or anything. Believe what you want to believe, I truly don't care, but this is just information that I've found, and I'll also be like adding my opinion into this as well, and I will be linking all the articles that I read down below if you're interested in reading it for yourself. So in most cases priests can't marry, but there have been cases where priests have gotten married and had children. By the way, if I'm looking down, it's because my laptop's in front of me and I suck at remembering stuff, so I do apologize if that gets annoying. There is nothing in the Bible that says that priests aren't allowed to get married. It's just a rule that the Catholic Church have made for themselves. But like, doesn't this kind of defeat the purpose of, you know, following the Bible and doing what Jesus says, if Jesus never explicitly said that you can't get married? It just seems very bizarre to me. If you want to read the Bible and take some of those things that you read, like the non-problematic things of course, and apply them to your daily life, like love thy neighbor and all that, then that's totally fine. But like kind of taking things that aren't in the Bible and then applying them to like your religion just seems kind of bizarre to me. The Catholic Church already allows for married priests in Eastern Catholic churches, so I'm guessing that's like European churches. So if like you're a priest and you're a priest in like the Anglican Church or like in the Lutheran Church or other Protestant churches, and you convert to Catholicism and still be a priest even though you are already married because you've already been ordained. Does that make sense? I hope I can edit that in a way that doesn't make me look like an idiot. In most Orthodox churches and some Eastern Catholic churches, men who are already married may become ordained priests. A priest may not marry after being ordained except in extraordinary circumstances. I don't really know what those circumstances would be, but anyway, that's just kind of like main introduction and the link between priests and marriage. Next I want to talk about deacons. So what is a deacon? A deacon is an ordained minister whose duties include baptizing, preaching at mass, presiding over weddings and funerals, that kind of thing. So kind of like a celebrant type of role. So one must be an ordained deacon before they can then become a priest. So you can't be a priest if you're not a deacon, but you can be a deacon to become a priest. Men who are already married can become ordained deacons, but if you're a deacon and you were married and your spouse passes away, then you're not allowed to remarry, which seems like it would suck. That just seems like an awful way to live. Like if you don't want to get married, that's completely fine, but having that choice taken away from you just seems completely messed up to me. So now let's talk about the ordination of priests. When priests become ordained, they take a vow / promise of celibacy, basically just meaning that you can't like do the sex and stuff. This promise lasts as long as the priests have not been dispensed from it. This just basically means that the celibacy lasts until the person that ordains the priest, they're also called the ordinary, decides to withdraw this vow of celibacy. Like if the priest decides that they want to get married and have kids, then it can be up to the ordinary to decide whether they want this to happen or not. Even if the priest decides to leave the Catholic Church or even the Christian faith in general, he needs to be dispensed from this vow from the ordinary. Basically just meaning that you have to ask the person that ordained you permission to have sex. The ordinary is basically anyone that has been ordained into the Catholic Church, so like deacons and priests and nuns, that kind of thing. A priest cannot be married after ordination unless they receive dispensation from the Holy See. The Holy See is also known as the See of Rome, and it's also in the jurisdiction of the Bishop of Rome, aka the Pope. So permission needs to be granted for this dispensation from the Pope. So let's talk about the differences between chastity, celibacy, and continence. Celibacy is simply the state of being unmarried. Oh, I thought celibacy was the state of like just abstaining from sex, but I think that's what the next definition is. Chastity is abstaining from sexual activity for unmarried people, and abstaining from sexual activity and excessive lust outside of marriage for married people. And continence is abstention from sexual activity altogether. So after ordination, most priests are expected to abstain from sexual activity, even if they're married. Like, isn't that the point of like getting married in Christian faith? So then you can just have at it. So married priests don't have as many roles as unmarried priests, at least not from what I've read anyway. Priests have 3 roles: governing, sanctifying, and teaching. Married priests are only given the sanctifying role, which is basically like the celebrant type roles, so like baptisms, weddings, funerals, and preaching at mass. All I can think about is like that John Mulaney quote where he's talking about like the Hymnly, how it's like a song but also stand-up comedy. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. The main reason I made this video and the main reason I was interested in researching this topic, which is the correlation between celibacy and sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. So there is a theory. This was around like 2017 that I started having this theory that like there was a correlation between like priests not being able to get married and like pedophilia, because this was when like all this information was coming out about priests not being the greatest. I need to say not all priests, of course, but it just seemed like there was a lot coming out about priests within the Catholic Church and unacceptable behavior. So it did like kind of make sense to me when I started thinking about it, because like priests aren't allowed to marry and they kind of have to abstain from any type of sexuality, and they can't really explore their sexuality too much because they have like made a vow to devote their life and have a relationship with God. And priests like mainly come into contact with kids during their like work life, so like at school and like churches and that kind of thing. And so then like because their main interactions are with these people, like all their kind of like sexual fantasies and stuff would be projected onto these people because that's like all they're having interactions with, so they wouldn't have like a healthy way of dealing with these sexual urges. And apparently they're not even allowed to like masturbate, which should be illegal, because what a lonely life. And like this all kind of made sense to me, and I thought, yeah, that's definitely a correlation, that's gotta be right, you know, because it did make sense to me. But then I read that according to the Protestant Church, there is a higher level of sexual abuse within the Protestant Church than there are with the Catholic celibate clergy. And this is according to the Protestant Church as well. So this isn't like some bias coming out from the Catholic Church. This is from the Protestant Church saying that their churches have a higher rate of inappropriate behavior than the Catholic Church, and Protestant priests are allowed to marry and have kids and that kind of stuff. So although there are temptations that come with celibacy, of course, because if you're told that you can't do something, then you're gonna want to do it more. Only some of these temptations result in pedophilia, and I feel like it would be like a very small percentage, and that small percentage would be vocalized the most because it is the most fucked up. I mean, it's sad and disgusting, of course, that this is happening, but there is no direct correlation between priests being celibate and sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. And this is like especially considering how many cases of sexual abuse come from churches that don't have a rule against priests being allowed to get married, so like in the Protestant Church, for example. Now I want to get into like the meat of the video. This kind of subtopic has the most information, I believe. So this is kind of like, why can't priests marry? In the Catholic Church, majority of people consider celibacy to be a major role for a Catholic priest. They're supposed to be married to God and not be concerned with worldly issues such as pleasing your wife or having children, that kind of thing. And in the Bible, Jesus spoke about how he recommends celibacy to those who can accept it. So Matthew verse 19:12 says, "Some people are incapable of marriage because they have renounced marriage for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Whoever can accept this ought to accept it." Priests serve in a place of Christ, so the ministry models their behavior after Christ. They conform to Christ and take Jesus' example of celibacy, because Jesus was celibate during his life. But then again, he died when he was 32. So, if you're 33, then just go for it. Because, Jesus, maybe he would have done it when he was 33. I mean, who's to say? Am I right? So they conform to his example of celibacy, and they prepare for heavenly life while they are on earth. Jesus Christ was never married, except in the mythical sense, to the church. So by priests remaining celibate and devoting their life to the church, they can closely model their behaviors after Jesus and how he acted when he was alive. They therefore sacrifice something good, marriage, for something better, heaven. And obviously you can have a fulfilled life and not be married. I'm not married and I'm doing just fine. If you want to get married and you can't because your religion and being a priest disallows that, and you truly believe that heaven will be something greater, then that's a sacrifice that they think they have to take. And good on them, do what you gotta do. Yeah, not here to judge. And Apostle St. Paul in the Bible makes it clear that by remaining single, it allows for one's attention to be fully undivided to the Lord, so then they can devote all their time to God and following his laws and rules and acting the way they God would want them to act, Hey guys, so it's the next day. My phone just decided to shit itself for no reason, and I actually bothered to do my makeup today. Not that it did any difference, but I feel better about myself, so there's that. I think I was up to reading a Bible verse from Corinthians, so I'm just gonna start from there. 1 Corinthians verse 7, 32 to 35. I didn't really listen in school. I went to a Christian school and I can't remember the exact way you're meant to read Bible verses, so if I get it wrong, I'm sorry. But also, I don't care. You'll get what I mean. 1 Corinthians 7, 32 to 35. I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife. And his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord, in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. I am saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way, in undivided devotion to the Lord. I mean, just my personal opinion, I am not married, and I am not concerned with the Lord's affairs. I'm just more concerned with trying to be a decent human being, trying to be a good daughter, a good sister, a good friend, trying to work, but I can't work because of this quarantine and my workplace is shut down, which isn't great for me. Anyway, I'm just trying to focus on uni work and trying to do a good job at that. Apparently all unmarried women just want to devote themselves to Jesus. Sorry about the rant. I want to read another Bible verse. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 3 to 4. I think that's the right order of how you meant to say things. I don't know, but it sounds right, so I'm gonna roll with it. Join with me in suffering like a good soldier of Christ. No one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. He recommends celibacy to everyone, but especially to ministers, as they are soldiers of Christ. I mean, I don't like this statement personally. If you want to be a soldier and join the army, you're allowed to get married. You can have time off to spend time with your significant other and, you know, do the sex and all that stuff, but like, you don't have to have a wife or a partner or anything, but at least you're not constricted to a world where you're not even allowed to jerk off, because that takes away from prayer or something like that. Sorry, I said I wasn't gonna bash religion, but I just don't like that statement at all. But you know, each to their own, whatever. I just personally don't appreciate that. So even though priests aren't allowed to get married, there is talk about possibly allowing married men to become priests in the Amazon. An article was published by the Daily Beast on October 25th, 2019, which revealed that there were discussions in the Vatican about possibly allowing married men to become ordained priests. This will mainly be implemented in areas where there are a shortage of priests, such as remote parts of the Amazon. The Amazon are in need of married priests and ordained women, such as like nuns and that kind of stuff, as there are a shortage of ordained leaders there. This would be a major step forward, because if married priests and ordained women can prove that they have undivided attention while they work in the church, then this can inspire churches in other parts of the world to allow the ordinary to work in their churches, which would be really cool. The Roman Catholic leaders, also known as the Synod, would be able to change this law with relative ease, as it is a church law and it's not set in stone in the Bible, because the Bible never said anything about priests not being able to get married. And it's like a little fact about the Amazon. It's estimated that 85% of villagers in the Amazon are unable to attend mass every week due to the shortage of priests. Some people only see their priests once a year, and if you're religious, that can make you feel very isolated and very lonely. I mean, this is great, obviously, that, you know, married men can become ordained priests and help out in remote areas like the Amazon, but this can also be a major setback for women within the Catholic Church, and this will be the last topic I will be touching on. There is a concern that allowing married male priests into the church will silence women's rights within the Catholic Church. In the Synod Hall, there are about 230 male priests, bishops, and one brother. 180 of these people will have a vote for the group's final decision. There are 35 women serving as auditors, 20 of which are ordained nuns. None of these women will have a vote. So women can't vote about whether they get rights within the church. That seems kind of messed up to me. The church teachings say that women can't be priests because Jesus only had men as his apostles. I mean, this book was written 2,000 years ago. Things have changed, gays have rights now. The Synod Fathers then declared for a greater inclusion of women's voices in the church to serve as a form of justice, because they have been silenced for so long within the church. This year, women were denied the right to vote again. There is a concern that allowing more men to become priests will further silence women's voices within the church, because there will be a less percentage of women within the church. So then their voices will be drowned out by more men. I'm obviously not saying that men are bad, in case any of you were thinking that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying women deserve rights, and if married men are allowed to become priests, then surely women can have a say about whether or not they can have basic rights. And also, in Orthodox and Mormon churches, married male priesthood has done nothing to signify that men are superior to women. So why should it be different within the Roman Catholic Church? I might be wrong, but I read somewhere that women can be priests, but they're not because they're not given the right. I think that's what this vote was about. I'll leave a link to that article down below anyway, if you're interested. I just thought it was interesting to read about how married men usually aren't allowed to become priests, and women are being silenced and have been silenced ever since the dawn of time within the church. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you for watching up to this point if you're still here for some reason. Please take care of yourself. It's a scary time in the world right now, and just do whatever you can to stay safe. If you have the opportunity and are fortunate enough to be able to stay indoors at all times, I would encourage you to do that. If you have to work or if you have to go out and get groceries, that kind of thing, just be cautious, stay safe, stay sane. I hope you're all finding ways to cope and are watching some really cool YouTubers or Netflix documentaries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, again, thanks for watching. Look after yourself, stay safe, stay sane, have an amazing day. Just realised I subconsciously stole the outro from Luke Alexander, so sorry Luke, you're not watching this, but just thought I'd address it now. Bye.